Hi, I'm Jamie Madge, editor of The Reel, and I'm here interviewing Johnny Kelly, director at Nexus, who created the Chipotle amazing branded film that won big in Cannes, won a Grand Prix for film and for branded content. Pretty amazing haul. So Johnny, it's won awards, it won the Cannes Awards, it's won many awards. Did you imagine it was going to be that successful when you were putting it together?
No, not really. I think we were presented with the project to make the brief was to make a music video, and that was going to be part of a larger campaign that CAA, the advertising agency, had sort of put together. And I think because it was sort of specifically about farming and farming practices and the industrialization and history of farming, I never really thought it would be something that would sort of be watched by that many people, or sort of catch the imagination in the way that it seems to have done. So yeah, it's a big surprise.
Okay, I mean, it'd be great if you can sort of just talk us through the process of how you got involved in the project and like the relationship with the agency at that sort of stage.
It was quite. I mean, I'm used to a script coming in and the whole sort of situation being quite orchestrated by the agency in terms of meeting the client and a certain sort of work pipeline. But with this project, our very first meeting wasn't actually with the ad agency, it was with the founder of the company who happened to be in town. And so CAA said, he's in town for a few days, he'd be interested in meeting and hearing your sort of very early thoughts on the project. And I think at this point we hadn't made a treatment, just sort of had some sketches and some rough ideas. And we went to meet him, and it was really, I think, having that sort of element of trust that early on from the client and from the agency sort of helped us, I think, feel like we were on the right track.
So yeah, online there's a making of the film, and it shows that the rig's absolutely enormous, and it's quite sort of epic stop motion endeavour. How was the shoot? Was it bearable? Did you survive? Well, you did survive, but how did you survive?
It was pretty grueling, I think. It was a sort of four-week shoot, sort of at least sort of 12-hour days each day. But I think I was lucky to have a producer that was sort of really good at not saying no to very sort of unrealistic expectations that I had, And I think we were trying to make sort of very complicated puppet animation, and because of Liz's background in feature film, she worked on Fantastic Mr. Fox, and the year before, she was able to pull in sort of contacts that had worked on Corpse Bride and Wallace and Gromit. So we had a sort of a really good sort of feature film level team, which enabled us to sort of get what was quite an ambitious film made in quite a short, comparatively short space of time.
Well, I really feel the film sort of tugs at the heartstrings. Were you conscious to sort of get animators who can really sort of put forward that? I mean, the characters are sort of tiny little finger bobbins, really, aren't they? So, did you have to work really hard to get that sort of emotion across, or does it take a particular type of person to be able to convey that in a little fella?
Definitely, and I think it would have been a lot easier for the animators if the puppet had been sort of even twice the size. But because it's sort of about sort of 10 centimeters high, actually having being able to channel emotions into something that small is quite a fine art. We were lucky to work with Gary Curitan, who had worked on sort of Wallace and Gromit and lots of other Chicken Run and features of art, and he was the character animator, and he just poured so much into this sort of lifeless little guy that as soon as we saw the first tests, it was a bit bafflingly nice. Yeah.
So, I mean, the film won as part of the branded content Grand Prix. It won the film Grand Prix. It's kind of a music video / short film / ad. I mean, it's for a brand, so / ad. What did it feel like when you were making it? Did you feel like you were making ads? Did you feel like you were making a short? And how was your relationship with the agency? Was it different to if you were making sort of a straightforward 30-second TV spot?
The agency were quite trusting, and I think they had to be to a certain extent just because of the nature of stop motion. You know, you can't sort of alter anything after it's finished. But I think to me it sort of felt a bit like making an instructional video. At least that was sort of the brief that I interpreted to myself. You know, this idea of, okay, we've got to talk about all these things like crop rotation and pollution and antibiotics and growth hormones, and how can you sort of filter that into a 2-minute film so that it felt like a sort of a functional piece of filmmaking in a way. I think it was quite helpful that you know, in a lot of cases working with clients, you're trying to tease out what they're trying to say or trying to work out how to present what they're saying. But in this case, they sort of, you didn't have to make anything up. They knew exactly what they wanted to talk about that. They had a very clear idea. Every time we speak to them through the development of the project, they'd always sort of feedback, sort of, oh, you know, this doesn't feel right, or you know, this feels a bit too. They're always trying to add sort of harder edges to it a little bit, and I expected the opposite, to be honest. So they're very supportive throughout.
But one of the sort of killer coups of it as well is this Willie Nelson backing track. Was that something that was like cemented from the very beginning? Did you know that was what was going to soundtrack the spot, or did that sort of come about during the process?
At the very early stages, we talked briefly about Willie Nelson, but I think we didn't really think that it might be a possibility. I think he's sort of president and founder of Farm Aid in America, which supports sort of local family farmers. So he would be the right choice, but we just thought, you know, there's so many variables, the likelihood of it happening would be very small. While we were making the film, we didn't have any music. We were working with sort of demos, but I think Chipotle, to their credit, always felt that it should be something that wasn't necessarily, you know, like a childhood, you know, childish sort of thing. They wanted it to be almost feel like a music video, or have a bit of ambiguity to it, that people could interpret stuff rather than telling you sort of what you're seeing on screen.
I mean, not really talking about the film itself now, but 5 years ago we saw your graduation film, Procrastination. It was a graduation film, wasn't it? And now, 5 years later, you've won 2 Grand Prix. Well, I mean, the film Grand Prix and the branded content Grand Prix. Did you expect that this rise? Did you expect it to sort of be here this soon?
No, not at all. I think I've been very lucky. Nexus have been really good and very supportive throughout. Because I think it was that film was sort of a fun thing, but I think I spoke to a lot of production companies at the time when I graduated, and I think Nexus were the only ones that were actually interested in sort of gambling on someone who had just graduated, and since then they've sort of been supportive of weird, odd little projects that haven't probably made them very much money or anything. But all of it has sort of added up cumulatively. I feel like it's sort of, I've been able to sort of develop and pick up something new on each project that I do. So it's, I've been really fortunate for it.
Okay, so you've got your pride of lions behind you. You've got this amazing film that's like your calling card now. What's up next? What are you planning? Well, I don't want to talk about anything before it's fully fleshed out. There's a few interesting, crazy, odd projects that aren't anything to do with animation that are in the works. And I'm just sort of looking for new challenges, fresh challenges, I guess, to try and push things in a slightly different direction and keep me on my toes, keep me a little bit scared. Well, thank you very much for your time today.
Great. Thanks very much.